Hi, YouTubers. It's us today, Mike and Emily.
Hi, YouTube.
Hi, YouTubers.
Hi, chat.
Hi, AI.
Hey, AI followers. Followers we purchased.
Hi, bots.
What's up, bots? What's up to all our bots out there?
What are your thoughts?
What are your thoughts, bots? We did our last chat 4 months ago, like almost to the day, like not quite.
AKA 4 years ago.
AKA, oh yeah, 100 million years ago. 4 months ago, I don't think you would have had the audacity to ask me to change tops.
Do you mean to change? Did I tell you to change, or did I wanted to steal it?
You just pointed out. No, you pointed out that you and I, when you walked in the room, you and I were wearing similar colors. We were kind of matchy, and you're like, "Oh no, we're matchy." Pause.
I didn't say oh no. I said, "So cool! Look at us, we're matching."
Cool.
It was not an oh no.
I was like,
know.
"Oh my god!" Do you want me to go put the other thing back
said,
on?
Oh my god, we're matching. Now we're not matching.
No, we're not really matching.
Because you took it offensively, which is.
I'm totally offended. You're
and
right.
I have the audacity to even tell you to go change.
Now
go change.
It's been 4 months.
Here we are.
The launch show. It was right before the launch show.
It was the hottest week in LA. Literally and figuratively, yeah.
I was like worried that the power was going to go out, because that's what happens sometimes when it gets that hot. And I thought the whole grid in LA was going to go down, and our show was going to crash mid live stream, and like people in like France were going to be pissed.
I think that's where we were mentally and physically.
Yeah. And we'd hung out in the studio a ton, but that's different than sitting around and answering questions about things.
Yeah.
It was weirder at that time. It was like we were still like getting used to like standing next to each other on a stage.
That's right, yeah.
Because it was like, oh shit, that's what that's gonna be like.
Yeah.
That's what that's gonna feel like.
Yeah.
Now we do it all the time.
Yeah, now it's like whatever.
Whatever.
Just run into everybody on purpose, because it's fun. Look alive, people! Boom! Not really. What would you say the most different to what you expected of all this than to what the reality was?
Actually, you know what? I think I really kept a pretty open mind to like what things were gonna be like. Because I don't know if I had very many expectations about what like touring was gonna be like or whatever, because I was unsure about how people were gonna receive it. Like, I know I liked what we were doing.
Yeah.
You know, I thought the music is amazing, and I really enjoy, like, when we started doing rehearsals and stuff, it was super fun from the beginning. It was a little bit nerve-wracking because like doing all the songs, the old songs that we've done so many years, and then like playing some of them differently.
Yeah.
Was crazy, but after we got over that hump, it was really fun.
Yeah.
To play together. And I was just like, I didn't know if people would like it. I mean, as weird as that sounds.
I know.
Did you feel like that?
Yes and no. I was so involved in what we were doing that there wasn't much outside chatter. Maybe in part of not telling anybody.
Right.
So I wasn't able to have any of that chatter, even like internal chatter. Yeah. It was just like everything was what we're doing now, and how we communicated in writing and having it. It was so, this was my world.
Yeah.
So it was hard to expect anything. There was always, and I think it's just from me in my career, there's always going to be some kind of failure. Like, always accept that there will be failure, you know? Because that's always been, like, the percentage has been
totally. I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that.
So it was kind of nice to have just, like, it's going to be good, you know what I mean? And everybody loves what they're doing. This is such a new thing, but yet so familiar, which was great, you know? It wasn't completely different. So I had that mentality where it's just like, just do the best you can, be here, you know, you got a job to do, you know, but at the same time, the most fun job. And so when it all happened, it was just like, what the fuck? what?
Yeah.
And even to the point where it was like, you know, it was going number one, this, and we were getting all these things back.
When you hit the what the fuck moments were like how well it was received, like all that stuff?
Yeah. I think there was another mentality that I had where it's like, don't lose the grip of reality, right?
Great, yeah.
So I'm thinking, this is it. And I think that was another reason that I was very just like focused and doing what we're doing and deep, like very involved, right? And so I think it was that, like, don't lose the grips of reality. Like, this is what it is. This is your family. This is, we're doing this together. We're in it together, whether it's successful or not. I think that was our mentality. But then when it actually hit, it was like the biggest dose of reality. You know, it was like, oh my gosh, this is reality now. So it almost had the opposite effect. And so having to grip with that and having to just realize that this is reality, this is it. It was like processing it had, there was so many dreams. I can't even, I hate to say that word, but like as a kid and stuff like that, like it was all not in my head anymore. It was like I crossed a plane. Like it was like some portal, you know? And I'm not even kidding. It was so real.
That's funny. That's really
because
funny.
you're constantly manifesting, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I was crazy at some point when I was very young and like asking, like, I am kind of obsessed at what I do. Like I remember asking my mom and being like, is this okay? Right. Because I was starting to get a little bit worried. Because I was like, that's all I think about.
Yeah.
And she's like, Emily, that's a true mark of a professional. You know, like, keep doing it. And that was the greatest thing. But I did that for so long. And then I just like, this parallel universe, I just kind of hopped over to or something.
That's funny.
You know? And I was like, this is crazy. This is everything.
People don't realize too that like in my experience, we did have so many big successes, but we also did have, you know, I'll say failures. Like I think to somebody else that might sound like an exaggeration or something. We'd have songs or videos or things, tours, things that we wanted to do that they didn't come out the way we wanted. Like they didn't come out as good, or they didn't come out as like the thing that we envisioned doing wasn't the thing that ended up happening. Oh. And what's so crazy to me about everything in the last, 4 months is that like we took some really big risks. We took some really big swings. I mean, just starting with the fact of like doing it again and doing it with you and doing it with Colin and having Brad, be in the band and play on the record and help out on the ways he helps out, but also not be on tour, all of those things. And then how we did the launch show and how we released everything. Like there were some really big risks, some really big swings. And to me, I feel like they all connected, they all worked.
I agree.
And it's insane. I've never been a part of a project of any kind where in so many ways it was so risky and it worked out in all of those ways. It's super weird.
I know. I think week after week there was more and more of that, even with the marketing aspect.
Yeah.
And with the whole team, and I think
think about like Two-Faced. The video for Two-Faced, it was like a last minute thing. Like, oh crap, we're gonna like put this 4th song out.
Yeah.
First of all, to put 4 songs out before the record comes out is unusual for me. I've never had to do that, I don't think. Oh, except for like my solo thing. But like this was way different because it was way heavier lift. It was like so much work. Yeah. And so much stuff was already going on. And then management goes, I think we really need a music video for Two-Faced. And we were like, oh God, like that's gonna mean you gotta spend money, you gotta come up with an idea, you gotta execute it well. Like we're so friggin' busy. Like I wanna get the launch show right. We're gonna add a video to that. And then somehow it managed to just like, everybody just threw their ideas together and we got creative with it, used the stage and the lights that we already had set up. And then good. Yeah, it's like one of my favorite videos we've done. Like stuff like that just feels like, it's like shocking. It's surprising that it all came together.
I know. It's nice to reflect because it is, again, like you were saying, we were so busy that it was hard to see, you know, the end of it. And so little by little, again, it's only been 4 months. There was a lot to process, but I definitely noticed, like day after day or week after week, you're just like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Everything was running on all cylinders.
It really was.
And just clicking.
Yeah, it was.
And just it got to the point where we're just like, okay, like this is beyond me now. Like I've never felt that before. You know, where it was like it became greater than.
It wasn't like you didn't have to push so hard.
No.
I felt like at a certain point it just had momentum and it was going.
Yeah. And you're just like, it's going to do its thing. And then next week, another stat comes out and you're like, yeah.
Crazy.
You know?
Crazy.
Yeah. And it's weird.
Crazy how fast you can, it's crazy how fast you can be like, I mean, because I don't know about you, but when the album came out at #1 in all these territories, the song did, like Emptiness Machine in particular, did so well in so many places. Like I didn't realize, for example, in Germany, we had never had a #1, like a top 10 #1 in the country. We'd never had one. And we've always done well out there, but I didn't realize that on the pop charts, we hadn't had a #1. That song went straight to #1 and stayed there for like
11?
a few months. Yeah. In Germany, they gave us some awards, and then we also got the award in England for #1 record.
We did?
It was just the two of us, and they gave us the thing. But I remember when you got the one trophy, you were like,
it's the first one.
I don't think I've ever seen you so like,
no, it was
you
the
were like
first
a
one I
little kid,
ever
so
held.
excited.
Yeah.
You were very excited.
Yeah.
It looked like a birthday. It was like a birthday present. You'd open a birthday present. You were like,
Yeah, it's my first
talk
one.
about that. Yeah, like that was your first. You've never had a trophy, like, which is weird because like it's just a trophy, but it's like it symbolizes something.
Yeah, it's an acknowledgement.
Yeah.
You know, of hard work, and so it's something that you could like have outside your head. You know.
Yeah.
And you could share it with other people. You know, it's like. You know, it's an agreed upon acknowledgement.
Did you, when you were like a little kid, remember you were talking about like manifesting it when you were like a teenager, did you ever think of things like trophies or like awards?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I watched all the awards, you know.
You watched
like
the award shows?
And, oh yeah. Yeah, as you do when you're 12, 13 in a band. No, I did it a little bit later than that. I didn't really know what the awards were at that point. But
That's funny.
I think you just see people holding awards and you're like, cool, that's cool, you know. And then you learn later like what that means and stuff, and you're like, well, I want that. I want to feel appreciated. I want, you know. And then you get a little bit older and then you go and you feel a little salty and you're like, I don't need that. And then it kind of changes a little bit. And you get one and you're like,
whatever, man, I didn't want that award anyway.
I didn't even want it anyway.
Want the acknowledgement
Stupid.
anyway. You guys are sellouts.
#1s are the best, you know.
It's crazy.
It's not like you are this or like everybody agreed, like everybody voted and said that you have the best song. It's like, no, it's #1. It's like,
for me, it goes back to like when you're making the thing and you don't know if anyone's gonna like it, right? It's like, it's easy to look at a song that people like love now, that's been a big song forever. It's easy to go back and go, oh yeah, well that song's like everyone knew.
Yeah.
You know, that's like a huge song. But when you're sitting in your bedroom writing it, and it's not a song yet, and a million things, like when we're working on a song, like truthfully, like a million things could go wrong to make it not as great a song. Like little, performance things or like writing things, you just can't quite get the idea and the song kind of falls apart and it's like ends up being like a B- thing, right? Like that's, in the moment, you don't know, I feel like you don't quite know that it's a B-. When you're listening to it, right? You're like, I'm writing this thing. I'm excited. It's new. I'm figuring it out.
Yeah.
And then as a group, at a certain point, we all share opinions and like look at the things and go, okay, it's exciting. This song that we're working on is exciting because it's new. It's a day old.
Yeah,
it's a week
right.
old, right? It's the best song ever because we wrote it yesterday.
It's the honeymoon phase.
Right. And after a few days or weeks, you kind of look at it and you go, okay, if I'm going to give this a grade out of 10, like I'm going to say it's a 7. And everyone else is kind of like, oh, like they throw all their numbers in and stuff, and you start to get a feel of what it really is.
Yeah.
At that moment, there's no, even if everybody's like, it's a 9, it's a 10, like you still don't know that it's going to be, that other people are going to like it. You just know that you like it.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's where we started with it all. And to feel like, oh, we wrote a bunch of 10s. Like we wrote a bunch of songs that we think, just the 6 of us think are 10s.
Yeah.
And to go out there and share them with people and have them go, yeah, we think so too. That's like such a great feeling. That's the best feeling.
Did you see any change with the fans, like after all this time away and with this, like a new kind of audience, a new, there's obviously the core,
But I think even the core fans, it was different. Like some of them, it was very dynamic.
Yeah.
Like I don't, before this year, there was a long history with our fans where we traveled, like we went album to album and went down a lot of different paths. Like each album we put out, I mean, especially since the third album, since Minutes to Midnight, every album since, there's been a challenge. There's been something different about the album, something that we wanted to experiment with that the fans weren't thinking. So that's an element in the release of an album where we go, okay, here's our new thing that we wanted to do, and some of them love it and some of them hate it, and it's like different percentages from different reactions, whatever. And so a lot of them have been on that journey with us for a long time. I don't know. I feel like that creates a complicated relationship, and then to have the band like basically collapse and then have all of this time quiet and to come back, there's all of the different reactions. There's the fans who are just so happy no matter what you're doing, they're just glad you're back. There's fans that are like, I don't like it at all, there's nothing you can do to make me like it, right? That's like the outside I love it and outside I hate it. And then in the middle is where everybody else is, where the majority of people are. And my favorite thing to see has been, you've done a great job of this. And it's not through any like focused effort to do it. It's just you being who you are. Like you're very open and you try really hard. Like you work very hard to do the things you do. Like it's not just the time on stage, a couple hours on stage, it's the days in between those times on stage where you're just like making sure that your voice is in good shape and that you're staying healthy and that you're like making good decisions. And I told somebody, like, you treat it like you're an athlete. It pays off because then you go and you do the show and you're, giving everything you've got, and they can see that and they can see you're enjoying it. Yeah. And somebody who's sitting there in the crowd with their arms crossed, kind of like, I'm not sure. I think they get a lot out of the fact that you're just great at what you do, and then also that you're really putting so much effort into it.
Right. Because I care.
You do care.
And maybe that's what they see, because they care and I care, and I think we can meet in the middle there. Like
during the show, for example, on Waiting for the End, that's a song that like hits, like when you're doing it, you get overwhelmed sometimes. And that's happened on a few shows. Like what? Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
Explain that. Like why? I think the reason I mention it is because I think a lot of fans see themselves in you when that happens. Like they're watching the show and they're like, she's as emotional about this song. She has a connection to this song the way we do, the way I do with that song or with my favorite Linkin Park songs. So like, what is that, do you think?
I mean, it's a great song. It's my favorite Linkin Park song. There's just such an emotion to it that I feel like can't be explained but felt. And as a fan, I hear what they hear, right? And now I get to sing it, and and I think that, and see, just even thinking of the song and talking about it, I get emotional. I don't know why this song fucking does that to me, but it's like, I get to feel it even more, you know? And that's what I love about music. I want to feel everything I possibly can. And if it's a song you already love, and then you get to the other side of it, it's like, it's euphoric, you know? And it just, the emotions, it just sometimes it'll hit that spot, and there's nothing I could do, and I don't care, because it feels so good. You know, it's such a release for me. And I'm not going to try and hide it, because even if I do, it's just, why?
You can't.
Why?
You can't. You're in the middle of it. I've seen you grapple with it and just be like, okay, well, I'm going to cry now.
Yeah, I'm a fan listening to it at the same time as I'm singing it. So if it happens,
that's funny.
You know, I didn't write the song, you know, so I mean, I think that's probably a better thing in that I feel like if I wrote the song, I would have as much as emotional connection for some reason.
No, that's probably right.
Yeah.
I think that I don't have that kind of a moment with any of our songs just for the song. Like I might have an emotional connection to a song because of either the story behind the song. So I might have a connection because of a story, a thing that actually happened.
Right.
As opposed to like, oh, it's a good song or whatever. A question before about like what I didn't expect. Here's the thing I didn't expect. I didn't think of the fact that because you didn't write those old songs, you have a relationship to them that's on the other side of the barricade. Like you've got a fan's relationship to some of the songs, and by having you on stage with us, you're like bringing that energy into the performance. So like people have noticed, friends of mine have noticed like, oh, you guys have all got such an energy and a chemistry on stage that's so refreshing. It's like a new version, it's like a rebirth of the band, but not just because you're a different combination of people, it's like chemical, it's like emotional, something else is happening. And I think a part of that I didn't expect was that you guys have that excitement or that relationship or that like, the music affects, it affects you in that more objective way.
Yes.
And so since we wrote that song and it's an old song, like it brings that back into it brings it into the band in a way that's never been there before. Like, why would it be there?
Yeah.
We've never had you in the band. We've never had Colin in the band who's like, oh, I said to you guys, are there any songs that you really want to have in the set that I might not be thinking about? And he's like, well, you may be already thinking about this one, but the song that I want in the set, we have to have it in the set, is Somewhere I Belong. And I'm like, dude, that's so interesting. Like, that's not on my top Linkin Park songs. And he's like, it's my top. Like, I love that song.
And for me, it was Waiting for the End,
Yeah. Right. And when you guys talk about them, the way he talked about it, I was like, dude, you're making me love that song more. Just by being so excited. And
I know that everybody's excited to play the new stuff.
Yeah.
And I have that feeling, being in a band for 20 years, I have that. So for Colin and I to come in, I know how that feels to some degree.
Yeah.
I love singing the old songs just as much as the new stuff. There's even some of the old stuff more, because it's like there's a sort of this emotional connection of just being like, oh my God, I love this song, you know? And obviously the other ones, they're new, they're fun, you know? They're great.
I think the reason that I want to play the new songs is because they were written by us. Like they were written with your voice in mind. And I want to put as much of that in front of people as possible. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, like I love singing the old stuff too.
I wrote down the same question that you asked me.
Which one?
Which is for you,
Which is, did you let the success get to your head? How did you stay humble?
The question was, were there things that you didn't expect, that you thought we would go one way and they were different?
I mean, I kind of, answered it in a way where I was like, the reality part of it.
The reality part of it.
Yeah, where it was like, I better keep, it's all in your head, you know? It really is at that point.
Yeah.
Even though you're doing the work, once you cross that line, once you've hit this thing, there was just like this, again, portal or whatever, or just like you made yourself known. It's like all of a sudden people are looking at you, you know?
Yeah.
When I say people looking at you, like there's attention on you in like every aspect. And I was just like, whoa, but like so hard, so fast.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just like, okay, this is going to die down a bit. It's going to settle. I understand that. But it was just like, I didn't expect that. I expected like, yeah, like we talked about, like
you just can't be prepared for it. Is
No.
the thing. Yeah.
No,
You can
I mean,
think,
we
you
did
can,
our best.
You can know about it.
Yeah.
You can know it's going to happen. We talked about that, like for better and worse, any kind of reactions to the new music coming out. But I feel like when it actually is happening, when the music's out, when people are hearing it and they're reacting in all these different ways, like there's this. I mean, you can't prepare yourself for it.
No, and it was nice to have the safety net. The you know, us.
Yeah.
And it was just like, that kept me sane and kept me just like on track, you know, because there's a lot going on. It's a whirlwind. And then it finally settled, obviously, but as expected. But again, like with the expectations part of it, like, remember when I was like, and this is probably really dumb and lame, but it gives kind of insight to where my head was, followers on Instagram, and I was like, maybe 250,000 by the end of this year.
Right. What's
you
it
know,
at
and then
now?
it was like 1.3 in like a month.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
that's just like my expectation to what the reality was.
Right.
You know, I feel like that is a good like.
And the pressure we talked about, and there's like a weird like, oh God, there's all these people.
Yeah.
Looking now, like paying attention to all these details. Like they're like researching what socks I'm wearing.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
Yeah. It's a thing.
Didn't expect that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting. And what's it like touring with a really cool, badass woman? I don't know who wrote this. And are you intimidated?
Are you intimidated by?
Who wrote these?
Who wrote these questions?
Do you always cut your own hair? Not only on the road, but like at home?
Can we talk about the other question first? What was the other question?
But are you also considering bleaching your hair? This is what a fan wrote in.
Too many. I can't.
It's just all hair.
So first of all, with this badass woman question, let me talk about that real quick, because that is a funny thing. I was like, when we asked you to play some shows with us, I was like, I already had this like idea in my head about like, not idea. I have daughters. Like I'm aware of the idea that you were going to be singing for the band. I knew meant that there would be guys mostly who are like uncomfortable with that. Like they're just not going to be able to wrap their head around a female singer. And so in the band, our response was like, okay, fine. Like then
Our
don't.
daughters like it.
Then
Cool.
don't, because we've got daughters in the band, and the guys in the band have daughters, and like it's so seeing it play out, seeing the kids, our own kids, but also female fans, like come to the shows and see you do your thing, and by the way, not like you approach the role of being a singer in a band in a way that is like very different from what I think most, like especially in the world of modern like popular music. I feel like a lot of female singers, like they'll lean on being sexy. They'll lean on selling the show or selling the brand or the whatever, like in certain ways. And that's just one example. There's plenty of other examples, but that one in particular we've talked about. I'm like seeing over the course of now months, people be like, oh, like this is Emily's vibe. Emily's vibe is a very specific, it's your personality. It's not, you can't just like sum it up in a couple sentences. You're a complex person. And the more time people get to spend with you, the more they understand you, at least where you are right now. And I think I'm really happy. That was like kind of surprising for me to see how that's all played out, because you are a badass. You are like, there's part of you that's like a modest, you're like modest, and there's parts of you that are definitely not. Like, right? Like, you're just like, you do these weird friggin' things. Like, I'll just be watching like a clip online of a part of our show, and there's a 2-second like move you do.
Yeah, how do they get that?
And I'm like, people don't know this, but I'll like send it to you and be like, dude, this was really funny, or this was really cool.
Or really cringe. Just kidding. Because nothing I do is cringe.
I don't think I've really seen any cringy stuff. I did send you the Casualty. I think when we debuted Casualty, you did this like headbang thing.
And then the thrust.
Like a thrust. And I was like, okay.
You're welcome, world. Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, that hasn't been in the band before.
No.
That's new territory.
Just bring in the 80s.
It was very
right?
funny.
Is that an 80s thing? I don't know.
I don't know.
It's an Emily thing now.
I just know that you were having fun, and it's contagious. I think for everybody. Everybody's just having a good time.
Yeah. No. That was our first time playing it, so I was like, why not?
Yeah. Some of these times you act like you knew what you were doing. I don't think you're not like, you're just free flow.
Yeah, yeah. And then also, I just don't know what the next song is. This is something I need to like, there's a lot of changes. This 4 months was a lot of trial and error, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna do this, I'm like, okay, now I know, even down to the bag I'm gonna need traveling. Like, the little things that I'm just like, okay, I could do this better, I could do that better. One of the things is, on stage, like, maybe know what the next song is after the one you're singing, because if I go full out and I'm running around doing high kicks and thrusts, I'm gonna be out of breath for a song that requires me to sit and just sing the whole song.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, because I've just been out of breath some of the songs, and I just have to like force my way through it, you know what I mean? And doing all my breath techniques in between, just gasping for air, singing the song.
Yeah.
So things like that, I think, I'm going to be...
with a little more, I think that the shows have been unusually far apart in distance and time.
Yeah.
Like they're in just cities that are far from each other, and multiple days and off in between.
Yeah.
And once that goes away, I think we'll all have a little more, that repetition will like bake in some of that.
Absolutely.
What was your second or your third rapid fire question?
It was your hair. So do you cut your hair on tour?
I only cut it myself when it's
there or here too?
When it's shaved. If it's like longer, then I don't cut it myself.
And here's one I feel like the fans would want to know, like, what's a story or a lesson you've learned from Chester that you still carry with you into your creative space or work today?
What I learned from Chester. Chester was he could just like go with his gut. Like he could just like make snap decisions very easily. And better than anybody else in the band.
Oh, wow.
And he'd commit just to like a thing.
Oh, wow.
So that's harder for me. I'm better at it now than I was 20 years ago.
I love that.
Because we were all together all the time, and I was like, oh, that's like, it's almost just like listening to your intuition or your inside voice.
It's not easy to do.
Yeah, and knowing when you're like, no, my gut says this, and it's very strong. It's a very strong.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and do that.
I feel
I'm gonna
like
carry it into my space.
It's like there are things about you that have reminded me, and I hope this isn't like creepy. There are things about you that reminded me of him since the beginning. Like just certain things that you do in certain ways that you carry yourself and stuff. Like it's not stuff that people would really, I don't think, like see on stage or hear on the record, but the way you're magnetically attracted to like to get on the microphone and to like hold people's attention. Just almost like hype everybody up from the moment you show up. Chester had that kind of energy. You have that kind of energy. It's not everybody that can do that. To just like walk into the room and be like, and everybody's energy level just kind of goes like this. Like, so besides this being like our first album together, first tours together. We had firsts like you hadn't been on a helicopter. There were a bunch of shows where you and Colin were like, okay, so I've never done, that's the biggest show I've done. I've never done a show that was like this or like.
With pyro.
Never done pyro before. What were some of the other firsts? What firsts? Remind me.
First class.
First time in first class?
Yeah, first time in first class.
Love that.
For 6 hours. First time in many countries, like South America.
I had never been to Colombia.
Yeah,
we had never been to Colombia. We had never been to Saudi Arabia.
That's right. Yeah. Brazil, I was so happy.
You had never been to Brazil?
Can't wait to go back, yeah. First #1 album, first #1 single. Billboard Music like awards.
Yeah.
You know, never had that. It's a first. I'm sure the fans could think of things that I don't even.
Yeah, me too.
And that's another thing too. Like I feel like it's just like way too much between Linkin Park and Duolingo, but like having like a journal be too much.
A third, yeah.
Having a third thing.
Between Linkin Park and Duolingo, you don't have room for a journal.
Yeah, I kept thinking like I should probably journal all this, and then I was like, all my free time is just like 7 minutes on Duolingo a night, you know. So I couldn't do that. So I can't remember all my firsts right off the bat, but
yeah. When you come home, okay, so all these firsts are happening.
What home?
You're not right. when you come back to LA, and you talk to your like, you know, family, friends, etc. Like, what kind of conversations? What are they asking about?
So how was, you know, tour?
Okay, but once you get past that initial, they want to get caught up on like what did you do, and then you get past that part where you explain what you did.
They're like, oh my God, did you hear about the drones? I don't know. It's just like, like you know.
Then it's like, like internet news. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. What are you gonna do now that blah 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 is blah blah blah, and like, where are you gonna live? You still live there? You still thinking about, you know? A lot about my car. A lot of discussion about my car. Are you gonna get a new car? How is your car?
How old is the Prius?
She is 11 years old. Yeah. Geriatric. Yeah.
Because she's having a lot of maintenance problems now.
She's having a little.
But I love your loyalty to this car.
Hey man, even the headlights are like so dim, like can't even keep up with like.
I feel like people
it's got, like the cataracts. Like,
people definitely would be surprised to find out that you're still hanging on to this 11-year-old Prius.
It'll be there. It'll be for like another year or two, I think. I think she's got a lot of miles left. 140.
We'll see.
1,000. I know.
I feel like
I do have AAA just in case anything happens.
I feel like we're gonna have a
intervention.
Like a bit of, no.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not gonna tell you what to do with your car, but I feel like the Prius has now become so much of a character that when it finally dies, like we're gonna have to have a little bit of a memorial for the Prius. Like it's gonna have to be a moment. Like, okay, everybody, it finally happened.
Yeah. Like
the battery went dead and it's not coming back.
I ordered a new battery though before it dies.
But it didn't work.
Yeah, it's defective, and so he has to order another one.
Yeah.
So he's ordering another one. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in the meantime.
Do you remember when Lorde first came out? Everyone was like, part of her story was she's never been outside of the country. She's never been on an airplane before.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That was part of her story. I feel like your never been in an airplane is this Prius. Like, she's got this 11-year-old Prius that's.
It's just so comforting. It's just, she's been with me through everything.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's so funny.
We do have a lot of banter in between songs. When we talk on stage.
On the mic that the crowd can hear, or on the mic that they can't hear?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, internal banter. Even with that they can't.
I just want to know which one you're talking. We both.
And I was I was just wondering if like fans could see, like, because we'll just sit there laughing sometimes, and I'm like, oh, I feel bad sometimes, like they can't hear.
Right.
like my joke. I feel bad that they can't hear how funny my joke is. I'm just kidding. It's usually Colin or Joe, I think.
You ever been pranked on stage?
Yeah.
Like by other bands? Mm-hmm. What kind of pranks? Or what was like the best prank? Or
Muse.
They pranked you?
Yeah, because we were on tour with them. We opened up for them.
What did they do to you?
And our last show, they threw fart bombs on stage.
Oh my God.
And we couldn't smell, like I couldn't see because I was at the front and whatever. And I was just like, what the fuck? Who shat their pants? Like, this is serious. Like, it would not go, always get stronger and stronger. And then finally, I think it was Sean going like, look, you know, and then it was them just fucking laughing.
Oh my God.
And then somebody was like, the fart bombs or whatever, and it was just like, oh my fucking God.
Dude,
it was so distracting.
That's really funny.
But I just remember getting so pissed, like, what the fuck? Who shat their pants?
Is it? That's crazy.
Yeah.
I've never had that.
Yeah.
At this point, do you think that Linkin Park fans like know you?
Yeah.
You think they do? Why?
Because of things that I've seen.
The things that you've seen?
Yeah. People showing me like, shit, they know me better than I do.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, people are like deep diving, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, when you see that happening, you're just like, oh, they see my extensive history of being a musician and, you know.
I don't mean that.
Oh.
I just mean like your personality.
Yeah, I think we've done enough interviews.
Yeah.
To get a sense of it, yeah.
Yeah. But I think that like.
Played enough shows. Maybe not.
I don't know. I feel like we're even like still getting to know, like if I think about a Colin and I think about, you know, Dave and Joe and you know, Brad to some degree too. I feel like everybody, I mean, we know each other. We know each other, but there's also like little things that are still like just on like weird little daily.
Yeah.
Something came up about horses.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh yeah, I like horses. I'm like into horses. You were like, as a kid or something, you were like.
I mean, I rode them. Wasn't into them. Okay,
right? I don't ride horses. Like, I don't know shit about horses. I've ridden a horse, but I don't know anything about horses. Yeah. Is this what you've inspired the socks today?
Hey, Brad got me these. Shout out to Brad.
There's some good socks, man.
That's it right there. Yeehaw. That's right. We always got to do something with my socks, right? Oh, last time it was my tattoo. Trust no one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still trust no one. Just kidding.
We still haven't gotten you to write in over your
We're going to do that.
The end tattoo.
Because honestly.
Please don't write in over it. Please don't do that.
Just a little pen. You want to do it right now? What would you do? How would you write it? Here.
That's a good point.
How would you write it? I'm actually very curious because I've thought about this too much.
How I'd write it?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Let's see.
Your own way or because there's two completely different fonts there.
I think it's got to be kind of like the one. I feel like it's got to be like this one. It's got to be straight. Like, I'm going to do this really badly. But like that.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't even think of that. See, he's the artist here.
I think it's got to be like that.
This is kind of a great representation of how he works in the studio. You're just like, I think it should kind of be like this. And you're like, oh, no shit. I've thought about this 100 different ways, in a different kind of sense. And you just come in and go,
okay, but you're going to need to be careful.
Math. And then you do that. Like, it's the genius of this fucking guy. I would have never thought.
Really?
No, I'm not even kidding.
I think that is the way. But also, that's a water-based marker, so careful with that on your shirt. It'll rub off.
I got a Mike Shinoda special.
I should have done it with permanent.
Original, dude.
Should have done it with henna.
What? I'm not tensing. I'm not flexing.
Yeehaw.
Now I'm just gonna get goofy at this point.
I did have one last thought, one last question.
Okay.
We were talking a lot about the past. We're talking about the last 4 months. What are you excited about? Well, there's things we can't talk about that we're planning for, next year. But yeah, what are you excited about?
Getting to be on the road. It's like I love so much. Writing new stuff.
Yeah.
It's always exciting. Meeting new fans in different markets is so exciting.
Markets. Different markets.
In different markets and different
I love how that word sounds so like industry to me. Like,
I know, gosh, it's so gross. But different, like I want to go to
I know what you mean.
new countries and
yes,
stuff.
I know what you mean. We're playing some
festivals.
We're playing some huge cities.
That's the main thing.
Some big cities, and we're playing some really little towns, and we're playing some festivals with a lot of bands that we haven't played with.
Yeah, I mean, our year is going to be consumed with touring, so it's hard to think other than that of the excitement and stuff, other than the Grammys. But but I think we're playing like Wembley, like that's stupid. In the coolest way, obviously. It's just like, what?
When I hear the name of those venues, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy crap, that is crazy.
Yeah. And then you realize,
we have not done that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I have not done that.
Yeah. And then like huge festivals too.
Yeah.
Those are really fun.
Super fun.
It kind of just like breaks up the, I don't know. It's just like a different type of show.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. And a lot of people that you don't necessarily have never necessarily seen us play or really came to see the band. I just burped and blew it that way because I'm very polite. And so that's always exciting.
She's a lady.
Yeah. I'm really a cool, badass woman. That's very intimidating.
All right, yo.
Thank you for for being here.
Great questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't even write anything down. It was all top of my head. So you're
really?
welcome.
What was on the paper then?
Nothing.
Nothing's on the paper?
No.
Why did you look at the paper then?
Because it's my journal. Day one.
Day one, the journal.
You want these? Huh? Come and get them.
We're gonna auction them off to the fan who's the biggest fan.